Welcome to 2023, 2022. Yeah, I'm happy to see that one in the rearview mirror because that was not a pretty end to the year. Really, the last 5 to 6 months of 2022 was a little bit of a mess in the world of real estate. But as we look at 2023, there are things that we are looking for that have us hopeful that things are going to be improving as we head through the new year. So I've got 5 predictions. Things are going to improve, maybe some things that will not improve, and what it's all going to mean as we head throughout the year. So 5 predictions for 2023. Can't promise this is going to come true. We hit ours pretty good last year. I think the severity of what happened, I think we all missed. I think everybody missed how severe the downturn was going to be. But we're going to take a shot at some predictions for this upcoming year. So let's see how it all plays out. Who's with me? This is Steve, Malone Realty Group, EXP. I guess I should have said that in the beginning. So, 5 predictions. 2023, and maybe even a bonus prediction if I messed up counting. So, here we go. Let's get it started. All right, let's kick this off with number 1, and this is probably the most important thing that we're going to predict for next year, and that is the interest rates. Interest rates had a huge impact on what happened last year. They started out basically in the low to mid 3s at the beginning of the year, and everybody thought they'd get maybe up into the 4s, close to 5. Now what happened? Got into the 6s and eventually the 7s. Yeah, last year, and it happened right in the middle of June where everything hit the 6s, and that completely shut down the market. The reality was the market needed a reset and needed things to slow down a little bit, but it threw ice water on a very little flame and just completely put the whole thing out like crazy. So, what is going to happen going forward? Well, we'll record this at the beginning of January 2023. We are currently in the low 6s right now, and so we'll call it low to mid 6s. It's been meandering back and forth, but for all intents and purposes, we'll call it low 6s, but low to mid 6s right now. By all indications, because interest rates kind of mirror or are married to or follow or whatever the inflation data, as it looks like the inflation data is coming down and the inflation numbers are coming down and we're kind of over the top of inflation mountain. We've been talking about that. We're on our way down. Last couple months have been very good as far as inflation data goes. It looks like we're going to be continuing to go back down to numbers where the Fed wants to get us to, because the Fed raises the federal funds rate to try and slow down the economy, to try and almost break the economy so that everything kind of slows down, pulls inflation back, and then they can let off of the Fed funds rate being so high. What does that mean for mortgage rates? Mortgage rates are not the same as the Fed funds rate. Okay, mortgage rates really, you have to think about the mortgage rates, again, mirroring or following inflation. As inflation went up, mortgage rates went up. Back in the 80s, inflation went way, way, way up. That's why the mortgage rates in the 80s were basically above 10% for the whole decade, for the most part. We got up into the low to mid 7s last year. But with the inflation data coming down now, it really does look like that was probably the top of what we were going to hit. We're in the low to mid 6s right now. Where do I think we're going to go? I think by the end of Q1, I think we're going to be in the upper 5s. By the end of Q2, I think we're going to be in the low 5s to upper 4s. And I think that's probably where we're going to stay for the rest of the year. The low 5s to upper 4s, probably more in the low 5s. So what does that mean? What that means is there's a lot of people who are on the sidelines right now in the house where the interest rate is 3%, myself included. An interest rate of 3%. I'm selling my house for a house and getting a 7% interest rate? No way. Okay? But, and that's the way a lot of people feel. But I'm at a 3% interest rate and I'm looking at the perfect house for me and my family, and I got to go to 5%. That's a little more tolerable. I can swallow that. I can deal with that. I think that a lot of sellers are going to be like that as we head into the middle part of the year, and I also think a lot of buyers are going to be dealing with that. We see a lot of buyers sitting on the sidelines waiting for the number to hit a certain number before they jump back in. I think it's going to be somewhere in the mid-5s. I'm really thinking March, April, a lot of buyers are going to come back in. We're already seeing them starting to trickle back in a little bit, but I think by March and April, a lot of buyers are going to be coming back in. It's going to be really one of the biggest reasons why is because of the interest rate. So that's our number 1 prediction for 2023, interest rates. I think we're going to fall through the 5s to the upper 4s to low 5s range by the middle part of the year, and we're going to hold there for the rest of the year. See how that plays out. That's our prediction. Again, I'm not a loan officer. I don't have any letters at the end of my name, so you cannot take that and get a loan with it or any of that stuff. So don't sue me, don't yell at me, don't scream at me, don't whatever me. There you go. But that's my prediction. That's number one. Second prediction for 2023, buyer traffic, as we hinted in the last one, is going to be going back up. Now, it is not going to be like it was back at the beginning of 2021. We still had a lot of people coming into North Georgia trying to escape some of the less favorable states for the pandemic and for vaccine lockdowns and for all that stuff. For political reasons, regular climate reasons, whatever, a lot of people are flocking to North Georgia still. You're going to take a lot of those people out because I'm really not thinking that we're going to see a lot of that intercoastal type travel or moving to escape. I think people are pretty set where they are right now. So that being said, that's going to take a part of the people out of the equation. But I do think that we're going to have buyers come back. All those buyers that were sitting there at the end of the year last year, they didn't just say, well, we're not going to buy. I think they said, we're not buying right now because the rates got crazy. The rates got crazy when it hit 6%. It is now, that was what, middle of June, beginning of January. We're coming up on, it's been about 6 months since that happened. It's been about 6 months. I think the buyers are used to it now. I think the buyers, if they see the interest rates get back into the mid fives, I think the buyers are like, let's rock and roll. I think more are starting to come in because a lot of realtors are saying, look, jump now before all the buyers come back. Because I think once we hit the mid fives, I think the buyers come back. And it's going to be March, April. I think it's going to be busy March, April. Do I think that it's going to be a repeat of 2021? No. Are we going to have some multiple offer situations? Absolutely. We had multiple offer situations before the pandemic. You're just not going to have 80 offers on a house and have it go $100,000 over asking price. But if it's a nice house, let's say it's a $400,000 house in Swanee, let's just say. Looks great, priced right, perfect area. You're going to get some offers on the house. Maybe sell it for $410,000, something like that. And you might get like 6 offers if it's in a really good neighborhood. We can get in a situation like that. Are we going to get in a situation where you have to put in $100,000 over asking price and waive the appraisal and waive the inspection and waive? No, you're not going to have that. But that being said, there's very, very, very little buyer traffic at the end of 2022. It's starting to ramp up a little bit. It will continue to ramp up. It will be back, again, March and April. So we're telling all of our buyers, if you want to jump in, jump the next couple months because March and April will be more like a normal spring. And I think we're going to have a normal fall. Fall, we typically have a little bit of a bump after Labor Day through probably Thanksgiving. We do have people. Last year we didn't. Everything just completely cratered. I think we get back into a normal market, pre-pandemic market, something that mirrors what we saw 2017, 18, 19. In Atlanta, that's what I think we see. Some other markets, because of the micro markets and the micro things going on, it's hard to tell what's going to happen to the other markets like in California or New York or like Idaho or whatever, Chicago. Name your spot that's not Atlanta. I don't know what's going to happen. In North Georgia, I know what's going to happen. It's always a hot spot. There's always a reason to move to Atlanta, North Georgia. So I think that the buyers are going to be there. It's going to be a normal market, like a 2017, 18, 19 type market. It's not going to be bananas like a pandemic market, which is fine because it's not the pandemic anymore. We're getting back to business as usual. The buyers are coming back March or April. So if you want to buy, next couple months is your chance. That's number 2. Number 3, the number of homes on the market, it's going to hold steady. May go up just a little bit, but we're not going to have a whole bunch of houses come back on the market. This is the interesting thing that we saw at the end of 2022. We always measure everything in what we call months of inventory. I'll give it to you again. Months of inventory. When you see that number, what that means is if we add no more houses to the market, we sell everything that we have at the speed that we're selling everything right now. We just sell it all. How long until everything's off the market? During the peak of the pandemic, it was at 1 month. Okay, an average market, a balanced market where it's not a buyer's market or a seller's market, like 5 to 6 months. We're at 1 month, which is a super crazy bananas, supercalifragilistic market. Okay, now it went up to 2 and then to 2.3 months, which still technically is a seller's market, but the buyers weren't doing anything. The buyers were really in control of the market during that time frame. But that being said, it was a seller's market because there wasn't a whole lot of homes on the market. That number's come down the last couple months. It was a 2.3 in October going into November. November into December came down to 2.2. Coming out of December into January, it's at 2.0. The number of homes is going down. What we're saying, what we're telling everybody is, yeah, these buyers don't want to buy in this market. These sellers don't want to sell in this market either. If they have to sell, they'll sell. But if they don't have to sell, they're going to wait. They know the buyers are coming back, and they're going to wait for them. I got a lot of sellers who are sitting on the sidelines just waiting and counting the days. We're telling them all, we don't have to sell until we get in a more favorable climate. Let's wait until March or April, and then we jump back in. Okay, that's what we're telling all of our people, because the buyers are looking for a deal right now. Once they get into March and April, they're going to take the deal that they can get. Okay, so I say that to say, I don't expect to see a whole lot more homes come on the market the next couple of months. Not an egregious amount. Everybody thinks, oh, there's going to be a whole lot of foreclosures now. There's a whole lot of foreclosures. You may have even seen reports that say foreclosures are up like 150% last year, like 150, 200% last year compared to the year before. Do you know what that means? Do you remember? We had a foreclosure moratorium for a long time. There were no foreclosures. Of course the foreclosures are way up last year. Okay? But when you look at that versus where we were even in 2019, 2018, 2017, it's way low. Okay? There aren't going to be a lot of foreclosures that come back. People have a lot of equity in their house. If they need to sell the house, they'll just sell it. Okay? Will there be foreclosures? Yes. Enough to really move that number? No. Not going to happen. So I think that what will happen is once we get into spring, we're going to see more people jump into the market, but we're also going to see a lot of buyers jump back into the market. So everything that gets added is going to get bought. So because of that, I don't see a big flux of homes coming back. We're going to hold in that 2 to 2.2 range, I think, through the duration of this year. That's my thought. That's kind of how it's playing out to me. So just expect that. We've been waiting for a whole bunch of homes to come on the market, We're at like 2.0 months right now. It's not going to be appreciably better than this. We're not going to get back to 3 or 4 this year. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, it's going to change the whole complexion of the game. It's going to give buyers a lot more leverage. Sellers can still get a decent amount, but I think that once we get into March and April, the sellers will be back to commanding a little bit more from their house. Now, you're not going to get $100,000 over asking price. If the houses during April of last year were selling for $550,000 in your neighborhood because things were crazy and everything was $100,000 over asking, good for you. And good for your old neighbors that did that. For you, the house isn't worth $550,000 anymore. Okay, I'm sorry, I hate to break it to you. The market has shifted. Okay, so if it should have been listed at $450,000, which it was, and it sold for $550,000, house probably should have been sold for $450,000, $460,000. That's probably in the neighborhood of where you need to be right now, across most areas, okay, until things really ramp back up. We'll have to see how big of a spring we have as far as where the home prices go and things like that. So I say all of that to say we have a lack of housing still, a lack of listings still, and I don't see that changing anytime this year. We're going to hold in that 2 to 2.2 range. That's my guess as far as where we're going to go. And what that means is if you want to buy, you're going to have a lot of competition and not an egregious number of houses. Better than last year, but it's not going to be a crazy amount of houses to choose from. That's 3. Let's go to number 4. Number 4, home prices. All right, so we talked about interest rates, talked about what I think the buyer traffic is going to look like, what the seller traffic is going to look like. Now let's talk about home prices, because everybody's asked me and come to me and said, hey, I saw on Zillow that my home price went down. I saw on Zillow. Okay, so just know that Zillow is a little bit of a lagging indicator as far as what home prices are. Okay, for example, last year during the craziness of March and April, a whole bunch of people were selling their houses for $100,000 more than what the Zestimate was, right? Or whatever they were listed at. It took a while for the Zestimate or whatever to catch up to that. And I'm not just picking on the Zestimate, because there was a lot of other tools online that give you a price of what things are supposed to be. It was lagging what homes were really worth. It took a while for it to catch up. By the time it caught up, the home prices or the market was coming down and was slowing down. So once the market started slowing down, people were like, "Oh, I guess you can't get $550 for that house. It'll probably be $525. It might be $500." The reality is, let's say your house is listed, or your Zestimate, let's just say $400,000 in March of last year, and then everything went haywire and crazy, right? And by the time we got to July and August, the computer's saying, "Oh, your house is probably worth 500,000." And then it started coming back down, and now it's sitting like 420. Okay, did you lose $80,000 in value, or did you add $20,000 since then? And that big bubble was because of everything that was going on last year. That was a home price really go up that high and then come down, or it's hard to say. All I know is if you're trying to sell a house in the spring of last year, all you had to do is raise your hand and it was sold for whatever you want to ask for it. If you want to sell your house in the fall, you had to go low on price to get it sold. Okay, that's the market that we were in. Where are we right now? We're in a regular market right now. Again, it's a seller's market technically because of the number of homes on the market, but the buyers are kind of calling the shots right now. It's going to relax a little bit in the spring. I think that home prices, when we're talking to our people, we're looking at home prices March and April last year. We're not looking at what sold in May and June because that was kind of fantasy land a little bit. March is probably the end of the road as far as like where do we look at prices. Okay, and even that might be a little high in some areas. I might have to look at February and January last year. So I say all that to say what's going to happen to home prices from this moment forward through 2023. I think we're going to see a more normal market. I think for the first 4 months, let's say your house is worth $400,000 right now. You could sell it for $400,000 right now. I think once we get to March or April, we're probably going to be able to sell it for $400,000. It's going to be pretty flat, give or take a little bit, but it's going to be pretty flat. Then I think things are going to improve through the rest of the year, but not like it has. Last couple of years, we saw about 20% year over year equity building on these houses for 2 years in a row. So it's crazy how much these houses are worth right now when you compare to where it was just 2 years ago. We're not going to have that. That's unhealthy. What we typically see every year is like 4 to 5%. Okay? I think we're going to be something in that neighborhood. For those last 8 months, I think we're going to go up like 4 to 5%. So I think that when we look at where your house is right now, write it down. Your house is worth $400,000. Let's just say, write it down. When you come into January 1st of 2024, what a crazy year that's going to be with elections and everything. God help us all. Anyway, 2024, when you start 2024, your $400,000 house, in my opinion, probably worth like 420, 425, something like that. 4 to 5% higher. Most of that's going to happen in the end of the year. Probably going to it's going to be pretty steady because it's going to go up in the summertime. Whatever it is. Flat the first 4 months, steadily go up, and by the time it's all over, 4 to 5% for the year. That's my guess based on where we are as far as the number of homes that are on the market, the number of buyers that are there, the interest rates, things like that. We'll have to see how the recession plays out. There's a lot of people who think there's going to be a recession. There's a lot of people who don't think there's going to be a recession. At any event, things are going to slow. So it's going to have a big impact on what's going on in the market too. So I say all that to say, my guess, your house, if it's worth $400,000 right now, it's going to be 420, 425 this time next year. It's going to go up 4 to 5%. Okay? If that's not 4 to 5%, I did the math on the fly and I messed it up. But I mean the 4 to 5%. And if it goes up 20, you're welcome. We'll see how it all plays out. But that was number 4. And we'll round it out with number 5, kind of our bonus one that we always do. Last year, for number 5, we talked about the number of rental properties. We're saying we're going to have a big influx of rental properties, people buying houses to kind of turn them into rentals and things like that. And that was going to be on the increase. We didn't really take into account how many neighborhoods were going to be built in the area that are build to rent neighborhoods. It just kind of got crazy there in the summertime. Build to rent neighborhoods are everywhere. I think that is going to come way back this year. I think that the offers you get from some of the big iBuyer programs like OfferPad, Open Door, things like that, they're going to come way back. They have a big backlog of inventory that they bought and the market crashed before they could get out. And I think everybody's being a little more careful on what they spend money on. So if you're talking to an investor, if your house is worth $300,000, if it was fixed, but you need money to fix it, the investor's going to give you like 60 to 70% of the value of the house. Okay, they're probably going to offer you like 180, 190, and we'll take it from you. Be ready for that. Last year, Open Door, we had them that actually helped us buy a couple of homes for a couple of our clients. They gave really, really good offers before everything completely fell through. They're not giving those offers anymore. Okay, and you remember what happened with Zillow when Zillow was still in the game. They're giving crazy offers before the market shifted, and they had to get out because they had too many properties on the market. So I think that with the the companies that have iBuyer programs, they'll continue to work, but they're not going to buy as much, and they are definitely not going to spend as much to buy. You can still get a cash offer. You want to sell your house right now for a cash offer, you'll get it. You just may not like that cash offer, but that's the market. That's where we are right now. The thing to watch is all of these communities that are rental owned or that are owned by one owner and they're just build to rent type communities. And I know people have issues with it and whatever. I'm not going to get into all that. But what I will get into is we're going to have to see how that plays out this year. The reason these big companies, the big national companies, buy these and rent them out and whatever, it becomes a kind of a card in their portfolio. Okay, it's kind of they're basically buying a stock. That's their stock. When homes were going up 20% every year, the rents were going up like crazy 20% every year to keep up with it. It made perfect sense. Let's build an entire community. We'll rent the whole darn thing out, and we'll take all the rent. We'll take all the profit, and it's going to rule. And in 3 years, we sell them all. We'll make a boatload of money. What's happening now is rents are going down. Now the market's stagnated, rents are going down. A lot of millennials are saying we're not buying right now with the rates where they are. So a lot of them are saying let's extend our rent or let's go rent somewhere else or whatever. So the renters are there, but the rental rates are going down. Okay, as rental rates go down, some of these neighborhoods are not going to be making the money that they thought they would. Number one. Number two, when you look at what's going to happen over the next couple of years, those homes are not going to appreciate the way that everybody thinks that they were. And when that happens, you're not making as much money on the rent. You're not making as much money on the house. And in a year or two, they're going to start looking at that and saying, is this worth it? I think a lot of these neighborhoods are going to look at that stock that they have right now and say, before things get a little crazy or whatever, maybe we need to get out of this. And they may start selling some of those houses. I don't know if you're going to have like a widespread like foreclosure of these neighborhoods. It's something that people worry about, and I think you do need to worry about it. I mean, if all of a sudden one of these crazy companies just says it makes more financial sense to just go bankrupt it and get rid of everything, then all of a sudden who owns these houses, who owns the rentals on them, all that stuff. It's something worth watching. What does that mean as far as what's my prediction? My prediction is you're not going to see a whole lot more of these go up this year. I don't think you're going to see a whole lot of home like rental neighborhoods, like neighborhoods that are completely 100% rentals. I don't think you're going to see that this year as much as you did last year. And some of them, you might even see some of them try to sell some of those houses instead of rent them, just to get out from under them, get them a little bit more cash flow. Just go ahead and take the hit now, or go ahead and just take a little bit of money now, because you never know what's going to happen down the road. Because rentals are going down, home prices are going up, but not the way that they were, so that it may not hit the numbers that they were thinking. So that's the thing to watch. Between the iBuyers and between those rental communities, it's not going to be as big of a factor this year as it was. And the rental communities, we need to watch that, because that could be a place where, I mean, we don't have a foreclosure crisis right now. We don't have, any issues like that we're about right now. That's one of those areas that we need to watch just to see how it all plays out. If the economy really tanks and these big national companies need to kind of rein in and sell some assets and everything to kind of make things work, I mean, that's something that you have to watch for. So that's what we will be watching for. But the official prediction is iBuyers are in the game, but they're not paying as much. Rental in neighborhoods are not going to be as prevalent through 2023 as they were last year. All right, those are my predictions for 2023. Some of them I put numbers on as far as like the interest rates, so we can track that to see how they turned out. Some of them more kind of theoretical. What do I think is going to happen? So I talk more about what I think is going to happen with the traffic with the buyers, with the traffic with the sellers, things like that, where we're going to end up with home values. So those are my predictions. Last year, the predictions were pretty close, I think. We thought that things were going to slow down at the end of the year. I'll be 100% honest. We didn't realize the interest rates were going to go up as high as they did. I think everybody thought they were going to be in the 4s to near 5. We would love 4s to near 5 right now, because we got in the 7s just last year. And the market just completely tanked. I I mean, it didn't slow down. It tanked almost overnight. Like within 1 week, we had some listings in one neighborhood so we could track this in real time. When we saw how many showings we had the one weekend, then you had the big price or the big interest rate, jump into the sixes, and then the following weekend, same neighborhood, same kind of house, and whatever. I mean, it was almost a quarter of the showings that we had from the one weekend to the next. And that it was in Sewanee, so it was a really nice neighborhood in Sewanee. It was amazing how quickly, like on a dime, the market just completely just stalled, and it stayed that way for a while. The listings that we have right now, though, we are seeing more buyers jump back in towards the end of December. They're getting the idea that the interest rates are improving. I think they're getting the idea that we're over inflation mountain. I think that the buyers are going to steadily start coming back. That's what we're going to be watching. I think it peaks or begins to peak in March and April. I think it's going to be a decent spring in the Atlanta area as far as real estate goes. And then it's just going to be like a normal year the rest of the year, hoping for no more train crashes like that. That was crazy last year. So that's my thought. What do you think? Am I full of it? Well, don't tell me that because I'm sensitive and I'll cry. But if you have any questions or you think I'm full of it or you want to challenge me or something, leave a comment. Let me know. Or you can call me 470-233-4409. Emails below as well. You can hit me there as well. Happy 2023. Let's make it a good year. This is Steve. Take care. Bye. Hey, thanks for watching the video today. If you want more information on what's going on in the real estate market, take a look at some of these videos over here that we've posted, keeping up with what buying, selling, things that are going on in the North Georgia market. But if you want to keep up with everything that we post to our YouTube channel, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel down there, bottom right. That way you won't miss out on anything.